Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to tackle something that I think keeps a lot of us up at night.
Oh, yeah,
Bad buzz.
definitely.
We're going to go deep on how negative online chatter, that stuff can really impact businesses and individuals,
Right.
and more importantly, how to handle it.
Yeah, how to take care of it.
Our guide for this journey
Hmm.
is a fascinating piece by a French communications consultant.
Okay.
It's called Comment gérer un bad buzz,
Ooh la la.
which translates to how to manage bad buzz.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
So even though this piece comes from France,
Right?
I think these principles are pretty universal.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about reputation management in the digital age. This affects everyone from global brands to small businesses to
Yeah.
even individuals just trying to figure out how to
Be online.
be online.
Exist online.
Right?
Yeah, and it does feel like one bad Yelp review or a negative Twitter thread can
Yeah.
just derail things like that. So where do we even start?
Well, the article really focuses on this idea of being proactive.
Okay.
So think of it like a digital smoke detector.
Mm-hmm.
You don't wait for the fire to start
Right.
before you install one.
Right.
You want to catch those warning signs early.
Okay, so it's all about being prepared. But where are we even looking?
Right.
Should I just be refreshing Google search all day long?
That's where tools come in. The article talks about social listening,
Okay.
setting up Google alerts for your brand name or for key terms.
Mm-hmm.
And there are also tools that track mentions across all kinds of different media, social media forums, even news sites.
Okay.
So these tools are like your eyes and ears across the internet. They let you know what people are saying about you or your company or whatever, good or bad.
So we're not just talking about damage control.
Right.
We're also tuning in to the positive things, too.
Absolutely.
Which, honestly, it's a nice change of case from just constantly doom scrolling.
Right.
But what happens when those negative comments do start popping up? What's the best way to respond? How do we handle that?
Well, this is where that French consultant gets really insightful, I think.
Okay.
They emphasize blending emotion and facts in your communication.
Okay.
You've got to acknowledge the human element, show some empathy, and then you lay out the steps that you're going to take to address the problem.
So it's not just about stating the cold, hard facts.
Right.
We need to add a little bit of emotional intelligence to our responses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine, a customer complaint goes viral, and you just give like a purely factual response.
Right.
Something like, we've received your complaint and are reviewing our policies.
Yeah.
That just sounds cold, right?
Yeah. That would probably just make it worse. People want to feel heard and understood when they're frustrated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead, you could say something like, we understand your frustration, and we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience that this has caused. We're taking immediate steps to investigate, and we'll provide an update within 24 hours.
Okay, so it's about finding that balance.
Right.
Between empathy and information.
Yes.
It's like baking a cake. Too much emotion and it's all frosting, no substance.
Right.
Too much fact and it's dry and unappetizing. You need that perfect blend.
You got it. And this approach, I think it applies across all different communication channels, too.
So speaking of channels,
Right.
are certain platforms better for addressing different types of bad buzz? Like, should we be drafting a press release for every negative tweet?
Not necessarily. That's another key point from the article, choosing the right communication channel.
Okay.
So yeah, a press release might be suitable for like a major crisis.
Right.
But for smaller issues, a well-crafted social media post,
Yeah.
a blog post, even a personal email
Right.
could be more effective.
It's all in context.
Right. It's like choosing the right tool for the job. You wouldn't use a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Now, the article also cautions against trying to suppress information online,
Yes.
which is something I feel like we've all seen backfire spectacularly. Like, remember that one company?
Oh, totally.
It's like trying to plug a hole in a dam.
Yeah.
You might stop one leak, but then like 10 more pop up in its place.
Exactly.
Sometimes facing the issue head on and being transparent is the best way to go.
Absolutely. Trying to bury information online in the digital age.
Right.
It's like trying to sweep dust under a rug in a windstorm.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Transparency and authenticity, those go a long way in building trust. And trust is like the most important thing when you're trying to rebuild your reputation.
I think that makes a lot of sense. People can usually spot a cover up a mile away. It's about being genuine, even when it's tough. But there's one thing that keeps coming up for me.
It all just sounds so overwhelming. Like, how do we manage all of this
Well,
and
yeah.
still stay compassionate and human?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's something a lot of us struggle with,
Yeah,
especially when we're dealing with online criticism.
right.
You know, it's easy to get defensive or feel personally attacked.
Mm,
But, the article really emphasizes the importance of compassion throughout this whole process. It's about remembering that there are real people on the other side of the screen,
yeah,
people with, feelings and perspectives that might be different from our own.
yeah. Sometimes I forget that. It's easy to kind of dehumanize people online,
Right.
especially when you're in the middle of like a crisis.
Right.
So how do we keep that sense of compassion
Yeah.
when things get heated?
One thing that helps me is to kind of take a step back and think about the context. Why is this person upset?
Okay.
What are their concerns? What might they be going through? It's about trying to put yourself in their shoes
Mm,
and responding in a way that shows that you care,
right.
even if you don't agree with their perspective.
That's a great point. It's
Mm.
not just about protecting your reputation.
Right.
It's also about like building and maintaining relationships, even in the face of criticism.
Exactly. And you know what? Sometimes those criticisms, even the really harsh ones,
Yeah.
they can actually be valuable learning experiences.
Yeah.
They can highlight areas where we need to improve or help us see things from a different perspective.
Okay. So it's about turning a negative situation into a positive one.
Right.
It's not just damage control, it's about growth and learning.
Yeah.
I love that.
And sometimes just acknowledging someone's feelings
Mm-hmm.
can really go a long way in de-escalating a situation.
Okay.
It's like saying, hey, I see you, I hear you, and I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
That can be powerful.
This is all really resonating with me.
Yeah.
So, as we kind of wrap up our look at this French consultant's approach to managing bad buzz, what would you say are the key takeaways?
For me, it kind of boils down to a few key things. First, being proactive is essential.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have those systems in place to monitor online chatter and catch those warning signs early.
Mm-hmm.
Second, communication is so important
Right.
and it needs to be balanced,
Sure.
blending those facts with empathy.
Right.
And finally, we've got to try to cultivate compassion
Yeah.
throughout this whole process.
Yeah.
Remember that we're dealing with real people,
Right.
and every interaction that we have is an opportunity to either build or, strengthen a relationship.
I think that's a great summary. We've covered a lot of ground here, but I want to circle back to something that we touched on earlier, that idea of being prepared. The article focuses on managing bad buzz after it happens.
Right.
But what about building resilience beforehand? What are some things that we can do to kind of minimize the impact of negativity before it even comes up?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Say the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right.
If we think of our online presence like a house, we need to build it on a really strong foundation to withstand any storms that might come our way.
Okay, I like that analogy. So what are some of those building blocks of that foundation?
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is authenticity.
Mm,
Are you being true to yourself and your values online?
mm-hmm.
Are you creating content that really resonates with your audience and builds trust?
Right. So it's about being genuine and transparent, not trying to be someone you're not.
Exactly. And another important thing is engagement.
Right.
Are you actively participating in conversations online?
Yeah.
Are you responding to comments and messages, both positive and negative?
Mm.
Are you building those genuine connections with your audience?
So it's not just about broadcasting our message, it's about having a two-way dialogue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And finally, I think it's really important to have a clear understanding of what your values are and what you stand for.
Oh, okay. Oh.
What are your non-negotiables? What are those lines that you just won't cross? Having that clarity, it helps you navigate difficult situations and make decisions that are aligned with your principles.
It's like having a moral compass
Yes.
that kind of guides you through the choppy waters of the internet sometimes.
Precisely. And that compass is going to help you stay true to yourself, even when you're facing, a storm of negative feedback.
So it sounds like building that foundation is like an ongoing process.
Yeah, it is.
It's not something you do once and then just forget about.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's about showing up consistently, engaging authentically, and really nurturing those relationships.
Right.
It's like tending a garden.
Mm.
You can't just plant the seeds and walk away.
Yeah.
You got to water them, weed them, give them the right conditions to thrive.
So we're all digital gardeners in a way.
Aha. Yeah.
cultivating our online presence and hoping for a bountiful harvest.
Right.
That's a pretty cool way to think about it.
It is, isn't it? And just like in a garden, you're going to face some challenges along the way. There'll be pests and storms and, maybe even a blight every now and then.
Yeah.
But if you've built that strong foundation, you'll be able to weather those challenges and come out even stronger on the other side.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little more empowered already. This whole conversation has been so insightful. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of bad buzz, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with today?
I think the most important thing to remember is that you have a lot more control over your online reputation than you might think.
Okay.
Yeah, bad buzz can happen,
Right.
but it doesn't have to define you.
Mm-hmm.
By being proactive, building those strong relationships, and staying true to those values, you can create an online presence that's resilient and authentic,
Right.
and that ultimately reflects the best version of yourself.
That's a great point to end on. It's not about being perfect or even avoiding criticism altogether.
Right.
It's about navigating the digital world with intention, authenticity, and a healthy dose of compassion.
Yeah.
Well, this deep dive has definitely given us all some valuable tools and perspectives to think about.
I agree.
Now it's time to go out there and put them into practice.
Absolutely. Remember, the best defense is a good offense.
Yeah.
So build that strong foundation, nurture those relationships, stay true to yourself.
Right.
You got this.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into managing bad buzz.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
We'll catch you next time.
See ya.